What is good, everybody? Welcome back to Real Fan Sports. I'm here with NONPFIXION. What's good, baby?
I'm chilling, man. How about yourself? How are you doing?
Doing good, man. We're coming up to week 13 of the NFL. Just 6 more weeks remaining. I think, if I can do math right. 6, 7? I don't know, dude. It's getting near the end. It's
Yeah,
upsetting, but that just means playoff football is around the corner, which is definitely exciting. And we're going to kick off week 13 with Seahawks versus Cowboys. Cowboys have been dominant lately, and especially at home, and that's where they're going to face the Seahawks, who have been struggling quite a bit. Who do you got in this game?
man. I'm gonna go with Dallas Cowboys again. They 5-0 at home. They've been playing. They've been one of the better teams at home in the NFL. Seattle. I like what they have. I like what they're doing. I think they're also missing a few different things to make this a full, complete team. And the Dallas have been playing at such a high clip. It's kind of hard to go against Dallas. So I'm going with the Cowboys, man.
Yeah, and I feel like it's going to be an ugly one, man. Unless the
Mhm.
Seahawks go back to where they were before, I feel like the Cowboys are going to have another big blowout. I mean, they just believe passed a franchise record in the biggest wins at home or something like that. It was something crazy,
Mhm.
biggest amount of blowouts wins, and I think that's going to continue. And with Pollard being back, uh, back-to-back games with touchdowns, he's getting
Yeah,
active leading into the playoff. That's all good signs for the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm with you,
yeah, I agree.
Dallas. Next up, we're going to have the Indianapolis Colts versus the Titans, both coming off of a win last week. Colts against the Bucks and Titans against the Panthers, now facing each other. Colts still fighting for a spot in the playoffs, man. They're
Yeah,
sitting there at 6-5.
yeah.
Not exactly where I thought they'd be, especially once Anthony Richardson went out, but Minshew, still doing the best that he can. And the run game with JT, finally, John Taylor is heating up, man. He got a touchdown this past week, looking
Mhm.
good. Who do you have in this one?
This one I think is going to be much closer than what people think it's going to be. I really like Gardner Minshew. I like him a lot. I like Will Levis. I know Garden isn't the future for that team, but some team needs to pick him up. And I like him, man. I like him a whole lot. But with Henry and Hopkins and how they've been looking the last couple of weeks, I want to believe that the Titans are going to pull it out. But I feel like the Colts are going to get this dub this weekend for this
Well,
one.
the thing is, Henry, everybody's saying like he's back, he's still that man, but he really didn't have a phenomenal game. I believe he did have 2 touchdowns, but he had 10 carries, and I don't think he
Hmm.
surpassed 30 yards. It really wasn't that much. He did have some receptions as well, but I still think they're struggling to find identity, even with Will Levis and all of this. I got Colts winning this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Next up is Chargers and Patriots, two teams that have just been disappointing. Patriots, I expected. Chargers, I did not. And they just can't win. I don't know who's to blame. I think Staley's a big part of it. Herbert had a horrible game last week. I mean, how do you lose to 10 points? You only put 10 points and you're supposed to be a top tier offense is a problem. Play calling is an issue, but at the end of the day, Herbert is the one throwing the ball. The week prior, I didn't think it was all his fault, but this past week it was. Who do you got in this one?
You know what, man? Even though after seeing how bad the Patriots played against the Vito this past week, it it would be weird to pick the Patriots. Very weird.
Right.
But it's one of those games where I feel like no matter who's on offense, I feel like the Chargers offense is in such a disarray. You don't know what you're ever going to get from them. I almost want to trust the Patriots defense more than I trust the Chargers offense. And that's sad because they have so much talent at every position on that team.
Right.
Every freaking position.
I
But
mean,
I'm gonna say Chargers should win this game. You would think, right?
I would think. I mean, that's who I'm going to go with. It's really going to boil down to Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots. I think he's going to be the dark horse that can make a difference in this game.
Hmm.
Chargers have so many weapons, but they just don't use them. They don't use Allen right. They don't use Eckler right. Herbert has been phenomenal, like we expect, and like he's had
Yeah,
phenomenal games, but he hasn't been. He's been good. Not great like he should
yeah,
be. And
definitely not great.
but I'm gonna go with Chargers. Just gotta think the Patriots are at such a loss right now, especially with the quarterback situation. Mac Jones losing his job once again. It's just a rough mess. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Chargers.
Yeah, I understand.
Next up, we're gonna have the New Orleans Saints versus the Detroit Lions. The Lions coming off of a loss against Green Bay, which was a tough one. I really couldn't believe that they lost it, even though I did predict them to
Yeah.
lose. They just fumbled and turned over the ball a lot and then started
So
playing too desperately. Like all those turnovers came in the first quarter, for the most part. I think one might have came in the second, and it's like they just like the whole world collapsed on them, and then it took them too long to come back to earth and just settle in and go beat a team that they are superior to. This is going to be in New Orleans, and New Orleans are, man, they look bad. Yeah, I mean, they look awful, and
they
I'm just going
definitely
to
look
put it like that.
disconnected.
And
Yeah.
now with the injuries, I mean, we'll see what the injury report comes out to be with Olave, with Rashid Shaheed. I think Shaheed has already been announced out. Olave
Mhm.
dealt with a concussion, so we'll see how that works. MT is going to be out. Marshawn Lattimore's out. Even with a fully loaded Saints team, I don't think we're good enough to beat the Lions. And with players out, I really don't think we are. I hope we do, but I don't think we will.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm going Lions.
it's one of those tough situations where the Saints, if at full health, have the potential to be one of the better teams in the league. Goff in Detroit at full health got potential of being one of the better teams in the league. But all the injuries on the Saints, it's so many steps backwards for them. And just Jared Goff and the Lions, they just can't seem to hold on to the rock. There's so many games where they're just coughing up the ball. Like it's like somebody's giving them the Heimlich every 4 downs. Like what are you doing? It's so bad. I have Jared Goff on one of my teams, and for the first 2.5 quarters, I was just like, yeah, I'm definitely losing this game. Just like I'm not winning because he just looks so bad. But of course, they had to make it up at the end. He ended up with 330 plus yards.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say because of the injuries, I would go with the Lions. I just feel like if the Saints did have a full squad that was fully invested in this games, I will go with the Saints. But I think the Lions are going to pull this out at the end.
Yeah, I think so too. For me, it's a matter of coaching is just disgusting
Mm-hmm.
with the Saints, and it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to win regardless of your roster when your coaching staff is so poor.
Yeah.
That'll bring us up to the next one, which is the new leaders in the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons, facing off against the New York Jets. Who do you got?
Falcons, like you said, they're now the leaders in the South, which is cool. But I mean, did they really earn it? You know what I'm saying, or just the fact that the Saints gave it away? That's really what I feel like that happened in that situation. And the Jets, I feel sorry for the New York Jets defense. They have done so much in so many games to give them an opportunity to win the game, and they just squandered away so many times because of the quarterback position is not where it should be.
Mm.
I'm gonna go Falcons. I'm gonna go Falcons, even though I'm not confident in that choice whatsoever because of the defense of the Jets. Because that defense of the Jets could probably win the game.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I look at it too. I mean the Falcons were able to win against the Saints. They used their dual running backs. That
Mm-hmm.
quarterback actually didn't really look bad last week. I mean, he was able to get Kyle Pitts involved. He was able to get Drake London involved a good
Yeah,
bit. And they're gonna need that, and they're gonna need him to play. They're gonna need him to play less hard on himself. He's been very hard on himself. When he
yeah,
makes mistakes, he dies by the mistakes, and then just seems like he's in a slump. He played a little bit more carefree, made some mistakes, and then just kept it moving, which was
kept
good
it
to
moving.
see for him. If he can do that, then I think he can beat the Jets even with this tough defense. God, I'm praying to the Lord that Jets win though, because I mean, as much as the Saints don't deserve to go to the playoffs, I still hope they do and just have
Mhm.
faith somewhere that they can be good, but they just can't, man. They just I don't
Yeah,
know. But realistically, I'm going Falcons.
yeah. Bless you.
Uh, thank you. Next game up is going to be between the Arizona Cardinals and the Steelers. The Steelers have found ways to win games that they probably shouldn't have, and now they're facing the Cardinals. I'm just going to go with the Steelers. I really don't have a reason why. I don't like the Steelers. I don't think they're a 7-4 team. I don't think they're as good as this record is. I think the fact that they're 7-4 and they have so many locker room issues right now is unbelievable when you're being coached by one of the best coaches of this generation. Uh, man, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm going Pittsburgh, but I hope they lose.
Yeah, I still don't understand Pittsburgh's schedule. 7-4. This team should not be winning this game, especially when you see players literally give up in the middle of plays, and they say they didn't see it, which we all know is a
And then
sack of lives.
troll it, and then go back after the game on Twitter and troll it and be like, "Oh well."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Some of those players have actually quit. I do now after seeing some of those plays and hearing about the fighting, I do believe that is actually happening. Um, you know what? Even though I've went against him since he's been back, I want Kyler Murray to win this game. Just
uh,
go out there, have fun.
I would love him to win too. I'd love him to win. Next up, Dolphins versus Commanders. Well, it's a team below 500, so that means the Dolphins should win, right?
You would think so, yeah.
Who do you got?
I mean, I believe the Dolphins should win this game. Like you said, they're going against a team that is sub 500, and yeah, I do still like Howell. I think he is the quarterback of the future for the Commanders, and I think I hope the Commanders can see that too. If they just build around him, they can have a really good
Mhm.
team. They have some good skill players. They just need to add more to the pot to get a good mix. But the Dolphins should win this game.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins as well. Uh, I want to see the Dolphins win a big one. You know what I mean? Like not a big win. I want to see them win against a tough team. You know, I want them to fight one and win through the trenches. That's what I need to
Yeah.
see to make them just be true like playoff contenders. Is like because I believe they're there, but at the same time, it's like I need to see you win the big ones, the tough ones, the grindy
Hmm.
ones.
Hmm.
Next up is going to be Broncos and Texans. Texans coming off a loss. Broncos coming off of a big win. Ugly win. I think they said what
Yeah.
29-12. Someone in our chat told us it's the first score line that's ever happened in the NFL, which is funny enough. And then Texas coming off a huge loss against the Jags. It'll be in NRG Stadium. I'm rocking with the Texans in this one. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I think them coming off a loss and still being in contention for that division is going to need big wins against big teams and teams like the Broncos who have won a couple straight now and have been looking fairly. I wouldn't even say fairly good. They've just been looking good.
CJ Stroud has looked really good in his rookie tenure in the NFL, and the team as a whole, they've come together to support this young man and push him up and keep him positive mindset. Even when you throw the interception, come on out there, just forget about it, keep it pushing. And I do believe the Houston Texans have what it takes to beat the Denver Broncos. Denver's defense is pretty decent, but they also it's a lot of parts on the Texans side, offensive side that they have to control.
Mhm.
And with that being said, I think CJ Stroud should pull this one out. I think he's gonna have a great game too.
I think so too. Next up is going to be Panthers and Bucks. Both teams taking a loss last week. Uh, I mean, this feels like a toss up. I mean, I think the
Hmm.
Buccaneers are the obvious better team. Panthers have had a couple of decent games, but they just struggle offensively. Now firing their head coach, I feel like things are just going to get worse. But we have seen a trend whenever head coaches get fired middle of the season, they come back and win the next game. And you know what? I'm who's to fight with destiny? I'm gonna go ahead and say the Panthers win a funny one against the Bucks.
You beat me to the punch because I was going to tell you that a lot of times when teams lose that head coach, sometimes they come together in some miraculous mentality to say, no, we're actually a pretty decent team. It wasn't the coach. It was us being lackadaisical and not taking responsibility and being accountable for our actions. And I think that the Panthers will pull this out. Tampa Bay, they have some good players, but I think like we've been saying pretty much since their last actual win is they kind of reached that plateau. They're
Yeah,
there,
they have.
and they need some more to put them over the top. I like Evans. I like White. I even like Baker Mayfield in a Tampa Bay jersey. It's just they need more. Defense has
Mhm.
been pretty decent. It has faltered quite a bit the last couple of weeks. I want to see. I want to see Bryce Young go out there and win another one.
Yeah. And I will also add this to any Panther fans watching or anyone that keeps up. I don't think Frank Wright was the person
No,
that should be blamed for this. I mean, we talk about this on streams. If you want to come check out our streams, we're live every Monday and Thursday for primetime football, as well as every other Wednesday for our podcast and some other games as well. It was definitely a weird firing to me. First year, couldn't even get through a full year. You didn't allow him to get the player he wanted in the draft, which was CJ Stroud. You don't build an offensive line. You don't give him any weapons on the offense, but you blame the head coach of 1 year and thinks that he's just supposed to make a miracle happen. Doesn't make sense to me.
that's
Regardless of
bad
that,
leadership.
yeah. Next game is going to be the Browns versus the Rams. Rams sitting at 5-6, Browns at 7-4. DTR did go out last week. I don't even know what happened. Who came in
I
to
don't.
replace
I
him?
don't know.
I don't know either.
I do not know. I couldn't even tell
So
you.
With saying that, I really have a hard time giving a true judgment. I mean, I'll go ahead and say a guess. It's in SoFi Stadium. Kyron Williams is back for the Rams, and he looked damn good. But it's going up against this Browns defense where I think trouble is going to happen. But if they're without DTR, then I think the Rams can sneak this one out. But I think this is going to be a low-scoring, ugly game. I will say that.
It will probably be a low scoring game, and I think the Browns defense will try to keep the Rams offense honest. But with the Rams on the road, but the Browns on the road haven't been the most successful defense either. So I believe the Rams probably pull out the W. And as far as the backup of the backup of the backup of the backup, I have no idea who's going to play quarterback. But yeah, I think the Rams will probably pull this one out, and it's going to be ugly and close.
Mm-hmm. Now we got probably the game of the week again. Eagles, they just love tough competition later on in the year. I mean, they got the hardest ranked schedule this past year, and they have won some big games, sitting at 10-1. I know they have some Buffalo fans that don't believe they deserve to win last week. There was a couple missed calls, but there were some missed calls the other way too. Both of them in big moments, such as the roughing passer that was called that allowed Buffalo to score and tie things up. And then the no horse collar foul that should have been called that could have led to a touchdown for the Buffalo. So we'll just throw it in the dirt and say it is what it is. They're facing the 49ers, who are 8-3, back on the road. Purdy had a poor game last week. McCaffrey, doing his thing, come back from injury. We see in all the posts of him getting beat up, bruises, blood all on his sheets and everything like that. He had to get his helmet tightened up. My boy's getting abused out there. Yeah. That was funny. But in this game, this is a tough one, man. It's in Philadelphia, and San Francisco is actually favored by 2.5.
Which I understand, because their defense, unlike other teams, actually does travel with the team. So I can understand why they're kind of favored. And plus, it is San Francisco. But this is the Philadelphia team who has been playing really well at some times. There's some moments where they have been playing not so great. But also, I noticed that that's also when the weather is ugly, too. Because a couple of times where Hurts has looked the worst, it's in ugly weather games. But unfortunately, the last ugly weather game was actually in Philadelphia. So we have no idea what the weather's going to look like. Well, they probably can say MC at the look.
Yeah, we got a projection. It's saying 48 degrees, cloudy. That's good football weather.
Still, which is good football weather. Good, winter or fall football weather. This one, I'm not saying it's a toss up like it's who doesn't matter, but it's depends on which teams show up for either side. If the Eagles, who played the week before last, show up, then I play, you know what? I can see the Eagles kind of taking us away. But it's hard to go against that 49ers defense. They're so freaking good. And Purdy has been looking just as good throughout the season as Hurts at sometimes. So I think I'm gonna go with the Eagles. See if they can go to 11-1.
Man, we've been riding the same train the whole game, and I was gonna go Eagles, but we'll make it different, because I don't think we picked opposite once yet, which is rare. So, I think it is much of a toss-up game. I mean, it's what team you get. I mean, this is probably going to be another NFC Championship game, unless the Cowboys are able to get in there. This is very possible a rematch in the playoffs at some point, and it probably will be a good one. I mean, Brock Purdy wants his revenge here. He's healthy now, going against his Eagles team, and I'm away on that and say Purdy's going to have a good game and go ahead and get a win and have the Eagles lose their second game of the season.
You could be right. I can see that, especially with Debo being back and fully healthy.
So that'll bring us up to our Sunday night game, which is an interesting one between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers. Packers on 2 back-to-back wins and 2 back-to-back phenomenal performances by Jordan Love and that Green Bay defense. And the Chiefs are struggling a bit, man.
Yeah.
It's, players dropping passes is a big thing. We're starting to see the toll of not having a true wide receiver one affecting them. They, have targeted the rookie a good bit, and he has looked good. Rashee Rice had his first 100-yard game last week, and I said this a couple weeks ago. He's someone that's going to have to step up and be that number one for him. He had 10 targets. I believe he had 8 catches out of those 10 targets, and he's going to have that impact and be someone that's reliable outside of Kelsey for Patrick Mahomes, and Pacheco's going to have to continue to have a good game. I think the Packers can win this one at Lambeau Field. It's 35 degrees, it's a night game. I really hope it snows or something like that. It's not forecasted to be yet. I really hope it does, just so it can be just like a classic, rundown. Yeah. But I think I want to favor the Chiefs here. Like, I was thinking Packers throughout the last couple days, but like, I I think the Chiefs should go out and win this one.
I can definitely understand that. First, I would like to say thank you to the Chiefs. I know you're probably like, why are you saying thank you? Because there's something that happened after this game against the Raiders that I've been wanting to happen. They finally got rid of Marcus Peters. They finally get rid of another player as well. And I'm like, the reason they should have got rid of him because the way he plays defense, he plays so far off, he gets beat. I probably say like 90% of the time. So I'm glad that they cut tape, cut ropes with him, cut ties with him. And just for this game going forward, Green Bay and Chiefs, and I agree with you. I feel like the way Green Bay has been playing as of late, they potentially can win this game. And Patrick Mahomes, like you said, they don't have a true number one. They need to make sure they pay Isaiah Pacheco a lot more because if it's not for him, they would have lost a couple of games in the last couple of weeks. And Kelsey, again, he stepped up big towards the latter part of the game. They have been having such rocky starts to games. You really don't know
and
which
rocky
direction this
finishes.
team.
They haven't scored in the second half in I think since 2022 or so. It's something crazy.
It's a crazy stat. And I would have to say I automatically want to say Chiefs, but I'm gonna go on a limb and say the Green Bay Packers walk away with a dub.
Okay. All right, then we're going to go ahead and have our Monday night game, which we will be live for between the Joe Burrow-less Bengals versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are currently number 1 in the AFC. I thought the Jags were going to have a good year. I didn't expect number 1. That was not in my guesses. I thought they'd be close. 2, maybe 3 or whatever. But they are a quiet number 1 because they do some things great and then they do some things very bad. And they definitely have some incredible inconsistencies. It is good to see that finally been able to get Ridley involved into the game plan a lot more. He's starting to be a little more consistent. Back-to-back good games for him, even though he did struggle in the first half against the Texans. The Jaguars should be able to walk all over this one. But this is a game where the Jaguars have a chance to showcase their talents against a Bengals team that doesn't have their starting quarterback. I need them to go out and dominantly win this one and make people feel like they don't just have the first place position in the AFC, but they have deserved it and earned it. I need Etienne to get involved more. He's had a slow couple of games. There's some things I need to see be fixed to make him feel like a true threat because even with how good they've played recently, when it comes down to playoffs, I don't feel like they're a threat yet.
Yes, I kind of agree with you there where they're not looked at as a threat, even though they have some pretty interesting dynamic players, especially when you look at the quarterback who can throw the ball pretty well and actually is very, maneuverable in the pocket and outside the pocket. Then you look at Etienne, who's a top-notch running back for the game itself. And I mean, they have, like you said, Ridley, who is shown that he is still capable. He's still very much capable of being that guy. I expect this team to play really well against the Bengals and shouldn't have. I would say they shouldn't have any issues, but they sometimes find ways to trip over themselves, and that's the thing where it's like you got to get away with those little errors. Is what puts you into another realm of not just wins, but your destiny being in the playoffs and possibly potentially in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean this is that time, right? Like this is a time of your team of like if you're not in the Super Bowl in the next 3 years, like things are going to start breaking apart. You're going to start losing players, like all these games matter every week from here on out.
So as from looking in, the season's almost over. My prediction when I did the video, I had them at 10-7. That's where I put them. My final total, I put them at 10-7. I figured they should win the division. I figured they should have a pretty good season with the pieces they have, and they should. They should end up 9-3 at the end of the game. They should not be losing to what's his name, Browning, in the quarterback position for the Bengals. Nothing against him. I just think if he's not Burrow. And I'm not saying you don't have to worry about him, but you technically really don't. So I think Jacksonville should pull this out.
Yeah, I'm rocking with you as well. Jacksonville for the win. So that is our predictions for week. What I said, 13? Oh my goodness.
Week 13.
Week 13 of the NFL. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let us know where you think we went right, where you think we went wrong. And go ahead and debate about who is the best team in the AFC right now. I'll tell you what, I don't even know. You know what? I don't know. I'm gonna let y'all debate. I'm gonna let y'all argue because I don't know. Let me know who the best team in the AFC is. We'll catch y'all on Thursday night for our live stream for the Seattle Seahawks versus the Cowboys, and then on Monday, Bengals and Jags. And we'll see y'all then. Peace, love, chicken grease, all that good stuff.
Before we get out,
Oh.
just want to say, for those who've been part of the channel, we want to thank you. We've been growing pretty well the last couple of months, and today is the official birthday for the channel. So happy birthday to you, Zachary. Happy birthday to Real Fan
Happy
Sport.
birthday.
Just wanted to put that in the video so we can get it out. But appreciate you guys. We love you guys. We'll catch you next one.
Cheers.
Peace out.